Hey there, how are you? I hope you're doing good. Today's video is all about compound interest, and if you have listened to some of my previous videos, I advocated that when one first starts off financial planning, it's always good to set aside emergency funds first, at least 6 months, because you never know when you're going to lose your job or if you will not have any income coming in. So an emergency fund will be able to tide you through challenging times. Once you've actually set aside an emergency fund, you will probably have some surpluses in your budget, and that's when I suggest that you start doing some form of investments. Now, the purpose of investments is to really make your money work for you. Even when you sleep, you should be able to earn interest, right? So compound interest is nothing more than an interest on top of your interest. So if you start off with a $10 investment with a compound interest of about 5%, right? You would end up with, let's say your investment is $100 and the 5%, that would be $5. So you end up with $105 at the end of the year, and then in the following year, you take that 5% and multiply that with the 105 capital, and then it will double up, and it should go up exponentially, to, let me see if my calculation is correct. Let me bring up my spreadsheet where you can see how compound interest works. Alright, so what I have here is a simple Google sheet to tabulate how much I would be able to save if I were to set aside $200 on a monthly basis, and assuming that I can get a 10% interest rate on an annual basis, how much would I be able to obtain after 20 years? So this is the chart of 20 years. So 20 years times 12, that's 240 months. So at the end of the 240th month, I should be able to have $48,000. I would have about $151 and $151,873 with a gain of about $48,000. Now, if I were to chart this, so if I were to insert a chart, this is how it would look like. Because you can see the growth of the savings will be exponential. It will not be linear. You know, if you were to put in your savings in a account that doesn't pay you any interest, then you get a very linear graph. But if you were to do it this way, you can see the growth is exponential, right? Now, there are various ways of doing your investment so that you can get some form of compound interest. The easiest way is to invest in, let's say, a unit trust or robo-advisors platforms, or the hardest way is, I wouldn't say it's hardest, the do-it-yourself investment. I wouldn't say it's the hardest because you should take it upon yourself to understand the basics of financial planning, and if you know how to do your own investments, the easiest one to do is to invest in broad-based ETFs that put in tries to track your countries or the global index. So there are many indexes out there. You can invest in the US index, which is the SPY, or you can also buy your own local country's index. In my case, it's Singapore's index fund, that's called the STI. So every month I put aside some monies to buy the local index, the bond index, and also a portion of it goes into a world index that tracks the world's index. That is a basket of investments made to the US index, European index, and whatnot. Now, I want to show you my returns in investing in unit trusts. Let me bring up my unit trust. Okay, you can see my unit trust investments here. This is an investment that I've been doing religiously on a monthly basis. I put aside about $500 to $700 a month. I've been doing this about 20 years. Ever since I started to work, I got introduced to unit trust, and I was told that it is a good habit to put in some portion of your monies in an investment fund to let it grow. Now, on hindsight, if I took it upon myself to actually learn investment, I would probably put my money in broad-based ETFs, right? But the concept is the same. There is going to be compound interest when you invest in a scheme like this. Now, unit trust is not something that I would 100% recommend, because it's an active managed fund, meaning they will charge you fees on a monthly basis or annual basis. So that takes away the gains that you would obtain from these funds. So if you can see, I have a number of unit trusts that I've purchased, about 7 of them. And for over 20 years, after regularly putting in $500 to $600 on a monthly basis, I have set aside $112, right? And these are the average prices. And if I were to track the current price of these unit trusts, I have an unrealized profit of about $54,000, right? So you can see I'm also tracking my unrealized total here in this chart. As you can see, is not exactly linear, not exactly exponential, but if I were to put this into my calculator, I'm averaging around 5% compound interest for my unit trust. Not as great as a 10% simulation, but 5%. So I think if you want to be realistic with an investments like unit trust, I think your projection should be around 5 to 6% compound interest, which is not too shabby actually, because bonds probably give you 3-4%, unit trust gives you 5%. I think that's great. There will be some months where you have negative returns. There will be some months you would have positive returns. But overall, over 20 years, my investment is yielding around 5% average compound interest, which is great. So I hope that was very insightful to you. I hope that gives you some ideas as to how you should start planning. Remember, first start off with your emergency funds first, and then with any surplus that you have, then put those money aside into some form of investment scheme that can give you a regular interest. Till then, take care and God bless.